Welcome back to the channel. I want to thank everyone for tapping in and listening to this video. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, spent time with their families, and shared some love. And I hope everyone got home safe. This video here is just a quick one. It's a reaction video to one that I heard earlier that 559J posted. And he was talking about the generational curse. And his story was about this guy who was in gangs, ended up going to prison, and had a son who also got involved in gangs. And he had a son who got involved in gangs. And now that son is facing a homicide charge. And one thing that he said that caught my attention um, was how he mentioned he moved away. He moved out of his hood to keep his kid from being exposed to gangs and the gang lifestyle. Now, those of us who have been locked up, I'm pretty sure most of us, if not all of us, has ran into someone that was never involved in nothing, who had everything that their parents can provide, but for somehow, some way, they end up in prison. So that brings me to the subject of him saying that he'll do whatever he has to do to keep his kids out of gangs. Now, I wish him the best. I got nothing against him. He does his channel the way he does it, how he does it. That's his business. But when he makes a bold statement like that, you know, never is one of those words that you never want to think about when what happens and you insisted that it would never happen. If that makes any sense. So him mentioning that he moved out the hood, moved away so his kids aren't exposed to gangs. You know, we all know gangs are everywhere. Gangs are a part of life in every region, every city, every town that there is. Sometimes a kid will get involved in gangs because they're forced to get involved in gangs. And I'm not saying someone says you're going to be in our gang and that's that. And what I'm saying is there's always going to be another group of kids that dislikes, for whatever reason, this other group of kids. So the group of kids who have no intentions of being involved in gangs, they do everything together. They go to the movies, play football at the park, play video games at home. They end up building a bond with each other and they watch each other's back. And they grow up that way. And any problems that they have, they're there for each other. They take care of each other, they watch each other's back. So just that alone can develop into a gang. Doesn't mean they have to dress like gang members. It doesn't mean that they have to go around and starting trouble with other groups of kids. It just means that they're just this one group of kids that look out for each other. Now, a perfect example um, for those that are around my age in their 50s, 40s, is way back in the days when the taggers came out. Taggers were just kids that liked to tag on the walls, spray paint everywhere. But eventually, those taggers were getting assaulted, getting jumped by these little street gangs, and they fought back. They fought back, and they end up in the system. And before you know it, their tagging crews became gangs, or they get into the system and they start running with the gang. So it doesn't matter where you hold on, kid, you out here fucking around. It's a good example now that I'm talking about this is these kids out here running around on the street. They might not be gang members, but they find themselves in some shit, end up backing each other up. One of them gets caught, gets locked up, comes out, and all the other ones look up to him. And before you know it, they start their own little gang. They start repping something, and that's how it all starts. But like I was saying, is kids that grow up with friends, they get a they form a bond and they look out for each other. And everything they do it together. And other kids start to target them because they might be gang members and they're not gang members, but they want to target them because they think they're weaker because they're not claiming nothing. Another thing that I wanted to point out was at a very young age, kids from the time they're born, everything they hear, everything they see, whether it's on TV or they see us doing or listen to us talking about, you know, they store that in their memory. And when they're faced with something or a certain situation, that memory comes back. So they might not be interested in gangs, but when it comes to their little group of people, you know, that's basically their gang. They don't have to write no gang name on the wall. They don't have to dress like gang members, but that's their little gang. Kind of like the Little Rascals. For those of you that remember the Little Rascals. Now Jay mentions that he'll do everything that he can, keep moving, keep moving around, so his kids aren't exposed to gangs, and that's cool. But gangs are everywhere, and a child is gonna grow up to be who a child is gonna grow up to be. It's already stored in their DNA. So no matter what you do to try to change a child, um, it's still in their DNA, and you might change their appearance, but you're not gonna change the way they think. Now these videos that Jay Hands puts up, all his tattoos. If he doesn't think that his kid notices them, all his tattoos all over his face, if he don't think that his kids notice those tattoos and are probably fascinated about him, fascinated with the tattoos or the way he dresses or the videos that he talks about, then he's in for a rude awakening. Because it doesn't matter where you move, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter who you bring your kids up around. The kids are already going to be who they're going to be. And we all know that being locked up, we all ran into someone that is a square, don't have no involvement in gangs, but for some reason they found their way into the system. And when they get into the system or get into juvenile hall, they start hanging out with groups of kids, and you know, it goes from there. So the word "never" that he throws out there, that his kids will never be involved in gangs, it's kind of a bold word, you know. And I hope he's right. I hope he's right, but at the same time, he's got to be careful how much emphasis he puts on that word "never," Because one thing as parents is we're never going to dictate what our kids do. No matter how many times we whip their ass, if we do whip their ass, no matter what we tell them, because you know, when they grow up and they start wanting to do things on their own, they start experiencing things on their own. We're not going to be there every minute of the day. And if you are, then eventually uh, your kids will start sneaking away. And that's one reason why we got kids that sneak out the window and steal their parents' cars and go and have fun with their friends, is because we try to raise them how we want them to be, and it's not going to work. Our guidance is by our actions. They see us doing something and they learn from that. Now, right off the top, when his kids are old enough to hear his videos, they already see how his tattoos. They're going to listen to his music. That right there is going to fascinate them. And all this memory that they have stored from the time when they were an infant, it's all going to come out because they're going to remember it. It's in their DNA. Nothing can change that. I do hope he's right. I don't wish any kids joining any gangs. Um, I wish gang activity would stop. It's hurting our kids, it's hurting their futures. I mean, that's why, the prisons are so overpopulated, and that's why um, kids are always getting in trouble. It's because, you know, they're exposed to it, even on TV. So you can move them out the hood, but they're still going to see the hood on TV. It don't have to be your hood. It can be somebody else's hood. It can be a hood that the TV puts out there. It's going to fascinate them. They're going to want to check it out. First, they start with the way they talk, the way they act. You know, it's just like a plant. You know, the seed starts to grow, and before you know it, it grows up to be um, whatever it's going to be. Start producing fruit, and nobody's going to change that. Nobody can change that. So I hope he's right by saying that his son will never be involved in gangs. I just hope that he doesn't real that he realizes that whatever he does is not going to change who his son is going to be. Now, like I said, I have nothing against him. He is who he is. He does what he does. That's his business. It's just a video that he put out and something that caught my attention because I did study child development. So it caught my attention and I wanted to bring it to other people's attention. It doesn't matter where we move to, it doesn't matter what kind of neighborhood, what kind of environment we move our kids to. Our kids are going to be whoever they're going to be. It's our job to teach them that whatever they're going to be, to be the best they can be. And hopefully they get through it and they mature and make it to the age that we are. For those of us that, let the lifestyle go, all we can do is hope that they mature or make it to the age of maturity and be the best citizens, the best adults, the best parents that they can be. One thing we can do is guarantee that they will never be something that we think they won't be because many times we have been proven wrong. Now, I'm not out to prove anyone wrong, but when you say never, that's a bold word, you know. And when you try to force your kids to be a certain way, it only pushes them away. So, with that being said, give your kids a hug and let them know you always love them and let them know that you're always by their side. no matter what they grow up to be or whatever they do. Got to stand by them, show them that support, and let them mature themselves out of it. That being said, hit the like, subscribe, comment. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope your families are in good health. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.